Hey guys, this is Jon
and Austin
and Brett,
and this is another episode of the Meatgistics podcast. So obviously we have a special guest with us today, a very special guest. What were those VSEs? Very special episodes. This is the Walton's version of a VSE. We've got Brett in here today because one, he pays for everything, so we're happy to have him on whenever he wants. But also,
no, you asked me to come on. I didn't go in and say, "Hey, I want to be on the podcast this week, Jon." That was spot for me.
That was even the tone of voice he used. I will be on your podcast. Now, Brett spent last week at AAMP, so wanted to have him in to talk a little bit about that, what that was like. Then we're going to talk about a few other things, and we'll get to Meat Matters. But let's get right into AAMP. So, Brett, first, you want to give us a little. For anyone who doesn't know, what is AAMP?
When you say AAMP, you mean the American Association of Meat Processors Annual Convention. This year, it's every year in usually July, somewhere in the summer, June, July. And this year it was in Charleston, South Carolina. It moves around every year to a new location.
Do you know when was the last time before this that it was on the East Coast?
It was in Charleston 10 years ago.
So it was 10 years since it was last.
Yeah, since I've gone East Coast, I've been to Buffalo, I've been to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then second time to Charleston. That's about as far east. Yeah.
The first two were no good. Charleston was good the first time. I didn't go this time, but I went last time.
Buffalo wasn't good?
Buffalo was terrible.
I don't know what the convention was like, but when we were on our way home, our truck got broken into. So
yeah, that's not fun. How many years ago was that?
20.
Yeah, probably 20 years ago. All the kids were in high school or younger, and the day after the convention was over, we were going on a tour of a submarine there in Buffalo.
Okay.
And right off downtown. And we came out from it, and somebody had broke out the side window in our Expedition and had taken Sandy's purse with credit cards. Oh. And she had like Social Security cards and stuff like that in her because we were going to go across the border into Canada at Niagara Falls. So we then we couldn't get it fixed on a Sunday in Buffalo. So we wound up going to Walmart, or I think it was Walmart, and buying plastic and duct tape. And the passenger front side window, we put plastic over it, and then that kept tearing. So Cole would sit there this is halfway across the country. We drove all the way back to St. Louis before we could get it fixed. And he would we'd drive and you'd hear this sound of wind coming through, and he'd tear off another piece of duct tape and stick it up. So eventually the whole window was duct tape.
Just duct tape.
Yeah. And I'm sure the people on the East Coast then are watching this Expedition go by with the Kansas license plate.
One of those rednecks.
Thinking, yep, hillbillies.
Yep, hillbillies.
I don't think people from New York think of Kansans as rednecks. I think hillbilly.
I think I'd rather be a redneck than a hillbilly.
Yeah, either one. Nothing wrong with it.
Both fit for me.
So that was a nice welcome to New York that they gave you, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it wasn't great convention, wasn't great attended convention. So yeah, it wasn't super memorable.
So what was the attendance like at this year's?
This year's, we don't have final numbers yet, but we had about 220. Last I had heard, which was, I guess that would have been Saturday morning. So some could have still checked in on Saturday just for the one day. It goes from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So there's the way AMP works. There is booth time, and then there is lots of social events, lots of classes. So there's stuff going on from 8 a.m. until as late as you want it to be, midnight, whatever. So.
Did you attend any of the classes?
So I got done, and I was driving home because I drive the trailer with my truck with the trailer and all the equipment in it for our booth, and everybody else flew out. And so I drove to Charleston, which took a couple of days, and I drove home, which took a couple of days. So I'm driving home, and it dawned on me, I did not go to one class. Which is, I always go to classes, but just the way it worked out, and I had enough other things going on because There's many of our manufacturers there that also have booths showing, a bandsaw, for instance. One of our vendor that makes our bandsaws for us, they have their own booth. So Excalibur seasoning that we sell, they had their own booth. So a lot of our manufacturers also are showing to our commercial customers. So the audience at AMP is basically small, what they'd call very small to mid-size meat processors. And it could be somebody that just makes jerky. They could be somebody who does slaughter and custom only. They could be somebody that just makes snack sticks, along those lines. Or it could be just like a little butcher shop, even in a bigger city. But most of it's rural, slaughterhouse customers.
So who's the average person who's walking the floor?
Who's the average person that's walking the floor that's coming into our booth?
Attending.
Okay, so they own their plant.
Okay.
It's typically a husband and a wife. They are the owners. They're the decision makers. They're the ones that run their plant. They work in it, every day. And literally for them to come to the AMP convention, they're either A, shutting their plant down, or B, doing very minimal work because they're not there to supervise it. And they're a big piece of the workforce in their plant.
I thought you meant they were coming because they were shutting their plant down anyways. Then why are they going to AMP?
No, they have to at least greatly reduce the production in their plant for the days they're at AMP.
Sure. If somebody wants to attend, do they have to be a member of AMP?
Yes.
Okay, so that's membership gets you.
Yeah. So you
access.
you can't just walk up and get into AMP. You've got to be a commercial meat processor.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Or obviously with a vendor who's
a vendor. Yeah. And there's I don't know how many booths there are. So our booth this year consisted of actually 10 by 10 booths. So it was 20 by 50. And we had a mixer grinder tandem set there, a bacon slicer, a vacuum stuffer with a double clipper on it, a patty machine, different supplies, different displays of some of the different supplies that we have. I think there was a glove supply and our new redone brine pump, and I can't remember what else was there.
How long did it take you to get the whole booth set up?
It took us about a day.
Okay. So about the same as it took with the old setup.
Yeah, but there was less of us there this time.
Okay.
It didn't take as much muscle.
Do you like the new booth?
Well, yeah, it looked great.
Yeah. Awesome.
I don't know if we posted any of those out there. Did you get any of those?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
Even though I asked for them.
Oh. Well, I'll send them to you. Sandy has them.
Okay.
We had an official photographer with us.
There you go.
That'd be my wife.
She drove with you?
Halfway. I picked her up in Nashville.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Along the road.
She was there for Titans training camp. Probably.
Okay, so they do something else at AMP, and this was when a couple years ago, Patrick and I went and did some interviews with some people, but the highlight of it was getting to test some of the, well, not even just the winners, some of the sausages that people brought.
I liked annoying people with a microphone. That was the best part.
So that's one of the events, and it's a big part of the AMP convention is the American Cured Meat Championship. And
so is there a cooler or something? I keep looking around, but I don't see.
So they have, I don't know how many. I've got a sheet here with, if I don't count, I don't know what there is. There's maybe 25 categories to compete in. And so processors bring products that fit into these categories, and there's rules for each category. So like on, a ham, it has to have, a certain size. There's lightweight ham, there's heavyweight ham, same in bacon. So they're for certain size of product. It has to have, some things have to have a casing on them. Some things have to have a certain, whatever product in it. So there's a wild game, there's a wild game class. So obviously that has to not have beef and pork in it. So it's a great build up to ACMC Awards. I have helped in the room before. It's pretty awesome. This year, with the number of plants at the convention was up. I mean, at 220 plants, that's as high as it's been. It might be the best attended convention in the 20 some years I've been going. It's really close in that range. So the membership of AAMP has been growing with the last couple years growth in our industry since COVID hit, and more people are buying from small processors. There's more small processors, and so a lot of the new people were there, and obviously it's showing up in our entries because we had almost 600 entries into the ACMC. So,
but that's 600 products, not 600 processors?
600 products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they do these in a big room, and there's judges from all over the country. A lot of them are from universities. Some of them are processors themselves, but you can go in as a volunteer and help. And I've done it before where I was helping with judging hams. And the guy that I was working with at the time was he's retired since, but he was at Penn State, was a doctor from Penn State. And we went through the hams and arranged them by color, and then started smelling them and cutting them and tasting them and looking at the inside and looking at the outside, and you judge all these different classifications. I should bring a card in sometime and show you what that is, how they get graded. So when it's all done, they do that on Friday. They judge all day long, and then Saturday morning at 7:30 in the morning, everybody shows up for the awards. They announce the winners. You got a champion, you got a reserve champion, and a champion, and a reserve grand champion, and a grand champion. So you got 4 places in each class.
Okay.
And so as they go through and call everybody off and then hand out the plaques, and when everybody's done with that, then you go into this room with 600 meat products in it and a knife on most years. But this year, the air conditioning system in the hotel was not working properly, and it got up to 76 degrees in the room that they were judging, and the average temperature was about 65 degrees for a day and a half that the products were out. Normally, they keep that room 40s, and they could not keep it, so we got to taste nothing.
Oh,
that is horrible.
600 entries, and we got to taste nothing. Normally, I don't eat breakfast that day. I'm not going to eat lunch. I'm taking my knife. We all have these little special sausage testing knives, which we actually sell those. And you just walk around, and there's a ham, and you're like, well, let me carve off a chunk of that. And there's a snack stick. Well, let me cut off a bite of snack stick. And you go from one thing to the next. And we were unable to.
Were people at least allowed, or were you able to judge it? Did the judging go through, or did it get ruined before it got to that?
The judging was fine because they pull out of the coolers Friday, and they're judging then. Okay. So they're fine. But when it's not till Saturday, 24 hours later, that gets a little nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Some of it, I'm sure, was fine. I'm sure there's plenty of jerky and snack sticks that were okay. But, yeah, you probably don't want to eat 95% of that stuff that sat out that long.
Yeah. And, yeah, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Jonathan Campbell from Penn State, he was saying, please don't try any of it. So he goes, I know some of you guys are going to want to, but don't. You really shouldn't.
So did you still get to walk around and look at everything?
Well, you could, but what's the point?
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Last year, or the year it was in Oklahoma City, there was a couple that were got me thinking about different things. There was blueberry and Parmesan, snack stick. So do you have the list of the winners there?
I have the list of winners.
Okay. All right. So let's go over some winners.
So, I'll just throw out a few of them here that I specifically picked out because these are customers.
Before we do that, because I scheduled Brett to be on the podcast before he left. And then when he came back, I was asking about this. And, I said, we're going to get to try some, right? And he kind of laughed. And I'm like, oh, you didn't get any. And he said, I want it to be a surprise. I thought he wanted it to be a surprise whether he brought some or not, and I got to try it. No, that is terrible. Oh man, that's so.
I thought everybody should see your reaction live.
How mad were people?
Disappointed. Well, people weren't mad, but they were disappointed. The guys.
Yeah,
all the Walton's guys. There was what? So 6, 7, 8. There was 8 of us guys in our booth, and to tell you how busy it was, Austin's worked in before. We had 8 guys in the booth, and most of the time, all 8 of us were talking to somebody. Our booth was just swamped all the time. It was fun.
So, but I mean, if they were so busy they didn't have a chance to step away for a meal, I mean, all other than Kurt, all those guys could stand to miss a meal, so they'll be just fine.
Well, Steven, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably fair. That's probably fair. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't go and look. We all went back to the booth and pouted. So
that would be me.
I actually had a question. I remember the year that we did go, there was apparently a higher number of DQs for simple stuff.
Thank you.
Was that on your radar? Were they
there's
not scolded, but they go guys, now listen, the color casing matters.
They made a huge point of it in that thing.
Yeah.
The meeting we had before that. Was that something again?
Oh, every year.
Oh man,
people get disqualified every year.
Timers, maybe. I mean,
yeah, people get disqualified every year. Now, I don't remember in Oak City. Was it worse then? I don't remember. But there's always, they always talk about, hey, there's some disqualifications. There's somebody who's makes hot links and doesn't put them in a red casing. Yep. You're like, hello, you got to put it in a red casing. Or they say you got to have, I'm making this up, but maybe it's you got to have 5 equal length brats, and somebody brings 4.
Yeah.
Well, you're DQ'd.
That's all it takes.
And here's the bad thing is that there was a particular customer that several years ago brought in something, and they asked somebody when they were checking it in, should I pull the casing off of it or whatever, and they were told, yeah, probably. So they did, and if they DQ you, they still judge you. They still want you to know. Well, that would have won Grand Champion, and it might have won Best of Show. So they take all the Grand Champions. There are a couple of extra awards they give out. So they give all the Grand Champions. Then they get the judges all together, and they go, here's all the Grand Champions laid out on a table. And kind of reminds you of the biblical verse, laid it out on a sheet and said, eat. No. So they lay out these Grand Champions, and then they figure out what's the best to show out of them. And they usually take a few votes between all the different judges to come up with what is the overall best product there.
Who was it that told them to take the casing off? Was it a judge? Because if it was a judge, that would make it.
No, it was one of the volunteers.
Okay. Well, don't always just listen to whatever you're told, I guess.
Read the rule book.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and then the other award is totally escapes me. But Best of Show is the best overall product, but then a processor gets the award for being the best overall. So you get a point for Grand Champion, and a point for Reserve Grand Champion, whatever, or 4 for one, 3 for the other, whatever. And whoever gets the most amount of points, then they get the plaque for the best of the year. So a couple, just a few of the type categories there are. Andouille sausage, Dayton meat products in Malcolm, Iowa. Bill was there to get that, Bill Dayton. Bacon heavyweight, our own right here outside of Wichita, Stroot's Meats in Kansas one.
So if you are from Wichita, you better be going to get some bacon from Stroot's, because that means they had the best bacon out of every small processor across the country.
So, and I'll give a little plug there for Stroot's. So James was there, one of the owners, and he made it to it on time. They have only competed 3 years. We've talked to them for years about taking their products to AAMP. They do really well in the Kansas competition. So most states have their own competition to start with, and then you can move up also to the national. And so 2 years ago, they won Grand Champion Snack Stick in Oklahoma City. And last year in Des Moines, they won Grand Champion Hot Link. And this year, Grand Champion Heavyweight Bacon. So they're doing some pretty good stuff over there. And you'll notice some of these names appear again and again. And Country Bacon was dry cured was Gennert Meatpacking in Holstein, Nebraska. Mark and Belinda up there made a great product there. And then you got ham, bone-in ham heavyweight, Dayton Meat Products, bone-in ham lightweight, Eichmann's Processing in Seward, Illinois. And then boneless ham. There's two. There's a commercial and a traditional, and the commercial was Bardeen's Country Smokehouse in Crabtree, Pennsylvania. And then meat snack sticks, also Bardeen's Country Smokehouse also won that. And then there's a semi-dried sausage that's cooked and non-fermented. So some of these classes get kind of specific, and that was Newhall Locker and Process in Newhall, Iowa. Dave up there usually wins products every year.
I mean, that would be mostly like what we make is a semi-dried, cooked, non-pH altered, like so, or doesn't have a culture.
Right. If you were just doing just a cooked sausage, small diameter hot link, Walkie Brothers out of Oklahoma won that. And then there's stuff like I put this one down. Specialty Game Meats was a reindeer cotto salami, and that was Tommy G's in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Nice. And
they are customers. Cool. Came up and talked to him for a while. So interesting thing. They're in Fairbanks, so we ship their stuff to a consolidator up in like Seattle, and then it goes up to them from there. But a reindeer cotto salami, I would have definitely tasted that if we could have.
Cotto salami is great with wild game. And
there's always the other interesting ones, some of the specialty stuff, and they didn't put on this original list, what some of these are. But then there was the 2023 featured class. So every convention there's a new class that is just a one-time class, or maybe just reappears every once in a while. So and this was a specialty loaf product, and Newhall Locker and Processing won that. And there again, it was a loaf product. I don't know what it was because
it doesn't say like it was like an olive loaf or something.
Head cheese or something.
Yeah. So I wish I could have tasted it.
Is sauce, however you say it, like the head cheese like product, Souse? What is that? What am I thinking of?
Yeah. Souse.
Would that be considered a loaf product? Do you know?
I don't know that it would be. I don't know.
Do you know what it would be under? I mean, sometimes it's spreadable almost like a Thuringer or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But along those lines, though, I will say, so every year at the beginning of the show, so on Wednesday night before the show opens on Thursday, on Wednesday night they have the president's reception. So whoever's the president that year, they bring great spread of meat products, and then everybody, so I don't know, 700-800 people, whatever, are in a big room, and there's all these products that whoever's president makes and brings. And it was DeWeeg Meats. Darla was the president this last year, and so their plant wins lots of awards. DeWeeg Meats, and they had a Braunschweiger that was, oh my gosh, I just want to sit there and eat slices of Braunschweiger. It was so good. Do you like Braunschweiger, John?
Sometimes. I go back and forth on when I like liver and when I don't.
Yeah.
Recently, in the last year or so, somebody on Meatgistics said, take liver, coat it in chicken on the run, and pan fry it, and it's amazing. And I've done it probably 5 times now. Probably 3 of those times I've loved it. 2 of the times I've taken a single bite and been like, nah, I'm not eating this. My dogs have finished it up for me. So I don't know if that's just a taste bud thing or if I'm doing something wrong.
They also had a kind of a liver sausage. They called it liver sausage, and I don't know what was different about it. It looked a lot different. It was not near as good as that Braunschweiger was.
Yeah, but you're a well-known Braunschweiger lover.
Yeah.
Like I said Thuringer instead of saying Braunschweiger just in case I was wrong somewhere. I didn't want to upset you.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things that growing up you had to eat.
Hey.
Because it was what we had.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
When I grew up, there wasn't things like, well, Brett's kind of picky, so we'll get him a hot dog that he can eat. It was like, no, you will eat this, and you'll sit there until it's gone. So I don't know. But we used to it was a combo sandwich we used to eat a lot of. It was like half Miracle Whip and half Braunschweiger at the equal proportions. Did I ever
doesn't sound
I was a
good.
chubby little kid?
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Oh my
to
gosh,
Miracle.
it was good though.
First of all, Miracle Whip on nothing. I did not like Miracle Whip at all.
Really?
I like mayo if I'm doing anything.
Yeah.
The only thing it's good on is like a fresh turkey sandwich.
See, and again, I want mayo. Roast beef
I'd
and
rather
turkey
have
sandwiches
mayo,
are
but
the only
it's-
things I want to put mayo on.
It's edible on it.
Out of how many times have you actually judged stuff?
I've never judged.
Oh, you've never judged?
At AMP, I've never judged. No.
Okay. Has Kurt?
I don't think Kurt's judged at AMP. Kurt's judged at state shows.
Okay.
I've judged at Wurstfest.
Okay. When you judged there, was there ever a time you're like, I'm not eating that?
Yes.
Okay.
Braunschweiger.
Was it really?
Yes.
What happened?
I cut into it. I was judging with Mario Fantasmo from Paradise Locker in Missouri. And we cut into this Braunschweiger, and the insides that, like, there was a section in the middle of it that ran out. It was liquid. And I got Mike Sloan over there who runs the Worst House in wherever that is.
Herman, Missouri.
Thank you. And I'm like, Mike, do I have to try this? And he goes, no, I wouldn't if I was you. Thanks. But that was disappointing. But otherwise, yeah, it was awesome. They're like, okay, they're like handing out who's going to judge what. And they're like, Mario and Brett get Braunschweiger. And we're like, yes, that's awesome.
Do you have to take a class to be able to judge those things?
No, they pretty much
They just tell you.
Anybody. No. Yes.
So wait, yes, you do have to take a class?
No, you don't have to take a class.
But they choose
they
them
asked me to, so
people, but you know the industry. I mean,
yeah.
That's the type of classing where like swirling inside the sausage will be a negative point, right?
Yeah.
So how does swirling happen? Like how would a defect like that?
When you're putting it on your horn.
Too much or not enough pressure holding the casing on as the meat's coming out and the casing's coming with it. If you don't have the right amount of pressure, it'll sit there and swirl or backfill.
Right. So you ever had it where you've got your casing on there and the horn's way out there in your casing and it fills back along?
I have had that, yeah.
It fills back along the horn. Yeah, that's
what it's okay.
Yeah. Yep. And I never wanted to judge at the state shows. Kurt's done it. I think maybe Dylan's done it. But I never wanted to do it because I didn't want to make a customer mad.
I can understand that. Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a weird position to put you in.
Yeah. But I mean, Kurt's done it and he's made some people mad, but I guess they got over it.
If anyone ever is actually mad at Kurt, it's their own fault because it's almost impossible for
that's
Kurt
not
to make someone mad and stay mad. He's one of those people
He's
that
very nice.
He can jack around with somebody and give them a really hard time and they'll just still think he's their best friend.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. So obviously it's great that Strutz went and they did well, but I do have a question. Like Strutz is state inspected, right?
Yes.
So what is their benefit to going to AMP and showing that off?
Oh, as soon as they get back, they get a hold of their local paper and stuff. They put it on their social media. Hey, we just won Grand Champion
that
Bacon.
Makes sense.
They get mentioned on the Meatgistics podcast.
Yeah, come in. Yeah, all these folks. And I don't know if you can see that. You might be able to see it on AMP's website. I mean, I wouldn't look today, but in a month or so, look and see will it show on AMP's website. Who the winners were, because I mean, a lot of these people you can order from. So as the people are listening out there and they want to try, hey, I'd like to try whoever made the Grand Champion Hot Link this year, and they call down to, Walkies and Claremore and say, I want to buy a few bags or package of that.
How many, what's the percentage of people who are just state inspected, who are just full custom?
I don't know.
But it's very rare would be full USDA inspected, ship everywhere, right?
No, I wouldn't say it'd be rare.
It wouldn't be rare. Okay. Huh. So AAMP really is a conglomeration of all sorts of different type of processors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's people there that have, less than 5 employees, and there's people there with, 100 more employees.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, people that I know are there, maybe 150 employees. So
now, when we went, one of the things that I found interesting, and not just at AMP, at a bunch of other events, there's so much crosstalk that goes on between plant managers about how to deal with things, everything from employee issues to cleaning to product selection, all of that. That's kind of on a smaller scale and where I've seen it. But what do you think causes that? Do you think it's one of those things where you realize that other person is also in this very rarefied position, right? They're owners of small meat plants. So they're just wanting to help each other out?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of them don't see the others as competition because they're in the next state over or whatever. And yeah, I mean, you can buy online from a lot of them anymore, but it's still, it's still a somewhat local market. So they're not too worried. But, I also know there's people out there who share a lot of what they did to make a great product. But they might leave that one thing out that makes it just that much different. They'll help you up to almost crossing the finish line, and then you got to figure some out on your own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about at AMP? Did anything happen that you want to point out?
Yeah, I can't think of anything. Just that, that is great to see the industry doing well, and hopefully we'll continue to see that growth as the consumer decides they want to know where their meat's coming from and find their local processor and help these guys grow, because there's a lot of new plants in the country and they're still building them. There's a lot of new plants still being built, and so there's a great opportunity for people to buy really good products.
Okay. Because this came up earlier today, and I didn't have the exact number, my memory, obviously a little shady, I've been here 9 years now, and I think I remember 4 years ago you saying that we've had 10 years, at that point, 10 years of continuous growth.
Last year was 21
years.
I think. Yeah.
So it must have been right away you were telling me it was 10 years.
Maybe.
So we're at 21 years of continuous growth.
Yep. We've sold more each year for 21 years in a row.
I remember at the beginning of last year saying, obviously, I don't mean this to be negative towards myself, but not that anyone listened to me about it. But I remember saying, I'm if we're within 5% of what 2021 was, because 2021, I was I would consider that a success, and we still beat that.
Yeah. So 21 was the year that, a lot of new plants came online. There was a lot more equipment sold that year, but we've still been able to continue to grow because a lot of those new plants coming online that bought a lot of equipment, that's a lot of, big sales up front, but they're coming online and then they're using a lot of supplies and seasonings and casings and, packaging stuff and all those kind of things that we're supplying them with now. So that allows sales to continue to grow.
And how much attention do you pay to what different line is doing in that? You're supplies or house supplies did this year to last year's, packaging did this year to last year.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you just mentioned it at the right time for Patrick and us, but your Big Four thing, like, stuck in our head. Anytime we're doing anything, we're like, okay, what do we want to do? We're like, all right, we should do the Big Four. So has that always been something for Walton's? Is that's what we want to do? Our supplies, seasoning, packaging, and casings? Those better be the Big Four, because that's what we think they are.
That's our compass.
What are you putting in as supplies? Seasonings, casings, packaging.
Equipment.
Oh.
Packaging and supplies, I guess, were synonymous with one another.
Yeah. I was sitting there going, one of those is wrong. Cause
That's the sometimes why.
It's equipment.
Okay.
So
we'll look at some of the stuff we've done, whether we've been doing that right or not.
okay.
Equipment.
Yeah.
we were
Oh,
like,
no, we've definitely
So-
done equipment, of course.
for a long time. That's, I don't know. Kurt or I, one or the other came up with it, but I'll say it was me. Just because he's not here to defend himself.
To try to get that.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that was, speaking of Kurt, that was one of the funnest times. We had, Kurt and I were visiting with a young couple they're from Oklahoma, I think. And I did not know them. And I don't think Kurt did either. And we were talking to him, doing mine and Kurt's normal thing. And I'm like, oh, here in a second, I'm going to argue the other side of this. So I did. And we were like arguing back and forth and flipping between what side we were on, that we've joked around that we do. And this couple was egging us on. So it was very entertaining.
That's good. You and Kurt together is always an interesting time. Okay. Then if we're done with AMP stuff,
Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt. I forgot to ask. You were in South Carolina. You've probably done a lot of traveling. Is there any good like local beers or food that you had recently that stuck out for you?
No, not really. Because I'm, in the booth or talking to vendors or talking to customers the whole time. Yeah, you're really not doing any sightseeing. So we went to the beach with 600 other people. They rented a beach house thing, kind of venue, and it was on the beach. Yeah, it was on the beach as soon as you walked the 250 yards through the sand from the building out to the water.
Yeah.
Which we did.
How hot was it?
It was fairly hot. It wasn't terrible though, because that you get some cool wind, blowing off the water, so it wasn't bad.
You didn't go in though, right?
No,
Okay, good.
I didn't go in. I was there working, so I'm talking to customers and stuff. I did walk out there with my wife though. We walked out to the water and went, "Yep, there it is. There's the ocean."
Turn around.
Turn around and walk back. Yep.
Danger's in there.
But so yeah, other than that, they did have there at we ate a meal there that they're feeding 600 people, like I say, and they had shrimp. No, yeah, whatever.
Shrimp something.
Yeah, and I don't
Shrimp
really like
cocktails?
shrimp. But
How do you not
it
like
was
shrimp?
Because it's nasty.
What do you mean it's nasty?
All that kind of
He's a
stuff.
red-blooded American. We don't
have
eat
it a million
seafood.
different ways, though.
You're both insane.
beef-
Seafood's extremely American.
Beef and pork.
Tell that to
I don't have a response to something
Bubblegum
that
shrimp is rolling.
right.
Yeah,
Shrimp's
I mean,
amazing.
if you're going to venture out from beef and pork, okay, try some chicken occasionally.
Throw in some reindeer.
No, I'll eat.
Right? Yeah.
I'll
the guy
eat
who,
fish. I eat fish.
just not shrimp.
I don't like shrimp and crab and lobster, that kind of stuff.
Scallops.
No.
Scallop
They call,
potatoes.
they call chicken those tuna of the land. So
I like that. I don't know that they do, but I like it.
Yeah. So I'm not a good one to give you any great tips there, Patrick.
Hey,
Sorry.
I just you never
Other
know.
than that, yeah, I'm kind of boring.
You stick to the same brew and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a local IPA that was good there. Yeah. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I'm the worst with names myself.
I had it.
on a
It was
beer.
on tap and it was good.
Right on.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was.
It was on tap and it was
It was on tap and yeah.
I'm a logo guy. If it
You
looks
look
cool,
up.
oh man, it's an IPA. I'm like,
And name,
bring it
for
on.
sure.
Bring
Yep.
it on.
A lot of those a lot of those events that we have, you get your ticket ahead of time, and with your ticket to get into the function, you get like 2 drink tickets. So my first thing is try to figure out how I'm going to get them away from my wife because I know she's not going to use them, and therefore I'd hate for them to go to waste.
Yeah.
And then you just go up and go, that's on tap and it's an IPA. Here's my ticket.
Sure. Yeah. Can't complain too much.
So.
All right. So a couple things going on here. First, the summer sale started today. So we've got between 15 and 33% off some Walton's branded products. You can go to waltons.com, and right up at the top there is a big summer sale button, or just click the shop now and you'll see it's underneath sales. So we're going to run it from now through August. All of it is while supplies last. So if anything at any point starts getting tight on inventory, and I don't think we're going to get replenishments in time, that'll come down real quick. So we're keeping a good eye on that just to prevent us from not having something for our Thanks Black Monday sale.
Or i.e. Brett yelling at you.
Or that happening for sure. Then obviously the 18th, exactly 1 month from today, we have the Walton's Bratfest. So this is our big annual
19th, right?
19th? Did I say 18th?
Yeah.
Well, today is the 19th, so I don't know why I said 18th. August is 8. I guess that's kind of how my brain works, I guess. I don't know. But it's an event here at our headquarters. We have a ton of vendors coming. Passing on Outdoor Mentors, BHA, Ducks Unlimited. Is Pheasants Forever coming?
Yeah.
Pheasants Forever. And a bunch other. I'm sure I'm leaving ones out there. We also this year have some of our customers coming, not only to give out samples, but also to sell product directly too. So if you want to leave with some bratwurst, you can do that this year. We also have some customers who weren't able to make it here, but wanted to contribute. So they are sending some product in for us to sell. All of the proceeds from ticket sales, from everything, all of it goes to the Wichita Air Capital Flyers and their Special Olympics team. So it is a great cause to fund if you're in the Wichita area, or if you just want to support them, you can buy a ticket even if you can't make it at waltons.com. They are $15 this year, all year. We didn't mess around with $10 now and $12 then.
No early words.
That was too difficult. All right. Then last thing, I put it on the summer sale, but we have the 20-pound electric stuffer still in stock, and that is $150 off its current price. So if you were looking at an electric stuffer, now is absolutely the time to grab one. So they're at sale at waltons.com. Anything else you want to talk about before we get to Meat Matters?
Nope.
All right. We're at 3:45 already, so I'm going to suggest we skip that first one and we'll save it for next week because that's a bit of a longer... It's red. The title is Red and Processed Meat in the Context of Health and the Environment. But we'll save that for the next one. Okay. So with a second beef plant, Walmart raises concerns about vertical integration in cattle markets. So Walmart's new Kansas plant will buy its beef from soon to be open Nebraska-based meat packer called Sustainable Beef. Sustainable Beef was the one where a bunch of ranchers got together and wanted to open their own processing plant. So I'm fairly shocked
that story before.
What's that?
I've heard that story before.
That they're going to do that?
No. You know how many times a group of ranchers get together
That's
and
what I'm
build their own
saying.
processing plant?
But
it happens a lot.
But then do they actually go through with it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I'm surprised that this is a bunch of ranchers who got together to do this to try to to claw back some of the profits, and then chose to sell the majority of their stuff to Walmart. But by giving ranchers a stake in a packing plant and focusing on premium products, Sustainable Beef wants to generate better prices for its supplier and higher wages for its plant workers. Last year, Walmart acquired a minority stake in Sustainable Beef for an undisclosed sum and promised to buy most of the beef it produces. Sustainable Beef's founding ranchers still believe their business model will improve the cattle industry for future generations. Others believe the opposite. Some ranchers argue that vertically integrating with America's largest and most powerful grocer will diminish competitive pricing for those outside the integrated supply chain and make producers within it vulnerable to Walmart's squeeze. What do we think?
You just take a drink and sit back and let the fireworks begin.
Can you repeat the question?
I'm more interested in your guys' opinion on this than I am on my own. I know what I think.
It's hard. I mean, it's just so hard to say what exactly will happen because in theory, whatever they want to do is great, and it'll be great for everybody involved if the market was free entirely. But the market's not free. When we don't play with a free market entirely, it's hard to say, okay, well, how is A going to affect things? How's B going to affect things? And so it becomes more of a guessing game. But my first opinion would be if it's outside of the big four, then it's a good thing.
Yeah, but Walmart is the largest grocer in America.
But they're not.
They might as well be one of the big four.
Yeah, but
they control so much of the beef sold.
If they did, and all of their stuff was gone like outside of the current big four, then we'd have a big five. We'd increase competition. It'd be great.
Brett?
I don't know. I mean, you could say, then you got an extra player in the game, but I also know how Walmart operates and how they squeeze their vendors once you get in with them and but on the other hand, cattle are a commodity. So if they're not willing to bid enough, then they're not going to get them. They're going to have to bid enough to get there. And if they're not, as long as they don't start negotiating with the other four, because that's what's some of the problem has been alleged anyway, is that the four that are out there talk too much to each other.
Oh no, you wouldn't.
That's
say.
What's been alleged.
I don't think it's. I think
it's been proven.
Yeah, they've had to pay
fined over and over
numerous times for that.
Yeah, so will another one in the market maybe stop that from happening as much? Yeah, I don't know, but I don't. They do what they want, and I'm fine. Let's just keep working with the small processors and helping them to grow and be competitive.
Was it when Walton's began and wanted to focus mostly on the small processor, was that more because that's who you thought you could get business from, or is that a conscious decision like these are the type of people we want to do business with? Or is it a bit of both?
No, it's a bit of both, but 25 years ago, whatever, I had some dealings with the big four, and I didn't like it, and I went, I'm not even going to try that. I can go sell to small family-run businesses, and just like you ask, who walks around the AAMP convention? The owners of the company, and I get to deal with them instead of some corporate person, and that I didn't have to do the corporate stuff. So that became very intentional then.
Wasn't a lot of what my grandpa did when he started selling just the grinder plates and knives to at least the medium-sized to bigger processors? Mm-hmm. Most of what he was doing wasn't the very small to small guys.
Whenever I got in the business with my dad and we bought out the other little company, Dad was selling grinder plates and knives to some of those large packers and some pet food manufacturers, big name, and eventually all that business went away because there again it was back to the corporate deal. Oh yeah, we're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars to somebody, and then they got fired or they quit, and then a new person came in, and then you're trying to figure out how to keep the business. And whereas the difference is where we sell to a small processor, we may be selling to the third generation that we've sold to. Since we're a third generation company, we have customers out there that we're now dealing with the third generation from where we started 27 years ago.
Pretty awesome. Last comment that I have on this, at least, is one of the sentences in there. It says sustainable beefs, Walmart acquires the minority stake for an undisclosed sum and promise to buy most of the beef it produces. That doesn't say that the plant is promising to sell most of it. So maybe there's more wiggle room on the sustainable beefs side. If they had said, hey, we'll sell you most of the beef, that kind of locks them in. But if Walmart's just saying, yeah, we'll buy most of the beef, it still gives sustainable beef some wiggle room to be like, no, that's not enough. We're going to sell them to these people over here. So we'll see. Maybe follow that with some interest. Topeka's Midwest bison sells Midwest bison meat as alternative to beef. Doctors and cardiologists will tell you to stop eating beef. We're supposed to be eating bison, antelope, and chicken. Cows are for profit, not for health. I'm an organic person. I don't like big government or how the food industry has been monetized so that only 5 different businesses in the country control our meat supply. Now, I've had bison in fairly recently, and it's good, but it's no beef. right? Have you guys not had bison?
No, yeah. I mean, it's good.
But it's not as good as beef.
I don't know. It's different.
Yeah, different in like it almost tastes like beef, but it's just not quite as good, right? Is that
would bison be higher in your book though if bison was the most commonly ate meat and it was commercialized and people focused on raising and having the best bison? Like, what if is there a Wagyu bison? Like,
maybe
it's just not as big of a deal, so it's I don't know.
I still think the people who raise the bison though pay attention, obviously, to like what it's eating to try to get the biggest carcass weight. It doesn't have much fat on it, no matter how you do it. The one thing I always remember is when we went up to Patrick. What was the name of the plant that we actually walked through the slaughtering? I can't remember. It was in Kansas.
In Kansas or in Nebraska? Didn't you go to Jesse's?
Oh, we went to Nebraska.
Didn't you go to Diller?
Diller, thank you. And walking through and seeing just how much bigger a bison carcass is than a beef carcass, because it is shockingly like at least 1.5, if not twice the size. Yeah. They are enormous. So I remember being shocked by that. But this is saying you go to Colorado or Montana and there's bison everywhere. Kansas once had the densest population of bison in the world, and you can't get bison. So this is obviously a local Kansas guy.
They're just really hard to raise. They're really hard to raise because they're so big. They're so destructive. You can't just throw up a five wire barbed wire fence and call it good. They just push it over.
There's a video of them trying to get a bull into a stall, and it hits that door with such an unbelievable amount of force. I mean, on the video, you can practically feel it come through. And also, I mean, they are carriers of brucellosis. I think it's brucellosis. And that transfers to cattle pretty easy. I'm wondering if that's part of the reason it hasn't taken off in Kansas. We have so many beef herds here that they don't want bison carrying that to the cattle.
I don't know. Oh. Next time you're up at Crable's, walk back to the kill pens.
Yeah.
So at one time they were bringing in semi-loads of buffalo from the Dakotas somewhere. And they had some project they were doing where they would cut primals up and just chunk them up and slaughter them, chunk them up, and they'd go out in combos, I think is how most of it was working. But they'd get semi-loads in, so they built their kill pens for it. They've got the biggest, baddest kill pens. But you go to other processors who just have standard, pipe fencing and stuff, and look around at it. And I mean, even Crable's, as heavy duty as it is, buffalo still bend it up. They just tear stuff up. It's crazy.
I mean, that whole hump on their thing, that's all muscle. And they use that to ram. So, scary. All right. Now, have either one of you ever heard of sugar steak?
Sounds like a horrible idea.
That's my thought too, but hold on. Created at Bastion's restaurant in Denver, sugar steak is easy enough to figure out. It's a cut of meat coated in a rub that's heavy on the white sugar, and some claim Montreal steak seasoning, which is then seared over high heat to caramelize the exterior. It's important to note that Bastion's sugar steak is only served rare or medium rare, and it's only available on 2 cuts, strip and ribeye. While it's unknown exactly why it's the case, it's likely that the sugar steak beyond medium rare would result in an acidic, burnt exterior. Also, New York strips and ribeyes have enough incumbent flavor to stand up to the sweet rub. That's what's got us wondering what other cuts might work for sugar steak. So I've got strips from Crable's defrosted in my fridge tonight. I am going to try a sugar steak.
Ugh.
And I will report back on how it is.
You're going to ruin it.
I'll take pictures of it and everything. That's my thought. I think it's going to ruin it.
Are you like on all sides?
Seems like it.
Okay.
The one I saw said like 4 teaspoons or tablespoons of sugar per steak, and then you just rub it. I'm putting
just
ultimate
like
steak
tender jerky.
Oh, God, that doesn't sound good. That just doesn't sound good.
Tender jerky's got a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah, but the jerky's delicious. What's the best that could happen here? I get a caramelized outside and a sweet steak.
I don't have a problem with that.
I
Well, it's like, what if you got a little bit of barbecue sauce on your steak?
on a steak?
Just a little, like it's touched.
yeah.
You go, oh, it's not bad.
I guess that
Be a little sweet.
I have it in my head that it will actually be bad. But yeah, barbecue sauce on it. I mean, it's not what I would think of what would be good, but it won't make it bad. It's just going to be weird.
Well, do you have,
When I was a kid, I was obsessed with A1 sauce, like
there you
obsessed.
go.
People would buy it for me for Christmas. That's how much I loved it. And I would put it on everything. And I remember the first time I had my mom's London broil without it. I was like, what have I been doing to steak all I'm like, it's so much better without it. What is wrong with me?
drowning.
So I put all steak seasonings aside. But you used to really like Excalibur used to make the ultimate steak sauce. What was it called? There used to be one of those sauces.
Yeah.
I was
don't
not a
remember
fan
what
of it.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh, Allie, maybe?
I don't know.
Aside-
Some
When I was a
was.
kid, I ate Heinz 57.
Ketchup on a steak?
No. What?
Heinz 50 ketchup on a steak
No, that sauce.
Heinz 57 is a
Heinz
not
57.
ketchup.
he's saying
is not ketchup?
No, it's
No.
a sauce.
it's a steak
just
sauce.
sauce.
It's called Heinz 50.
Yeah. just like A1.
It's like an
Except it's-
orangish
Are you
color.
telling me every
Yeah.
glass bottle of Heinz ketchup doesn't have that little medallion with a 57 on it?
Different color. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong because I know what you're talking about with like the little ribbon.
Yeah.
The like white and maybe
I've never
even
seen
green.
that in my life.
The yellow and blue.
Yeah.
That's not ketchup though.
No, that's definitely
No,
not
it's
ketchup.
not
Okay.
ketchup.
I'm sorry. What we were talking about is the glass bottle of Heinz, I believe, has a little medallion right on the front of it that says 57.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what
Maybe
you were
ketchup,
saying.
but
Sorry,
no.
I've never seen that before.
Really?
So what is great branding is actually just a miss from John.
So how would you cook your steak on that? Are we talking medium rare? Are we talking well done? Like if you're
Go back
eating,
with that?
yeah.
Oh, that's like when I was a kid, Mom was cooking, and there was only one way to cook a steak.
Full.
Yeah.
Full send. Oh,
She used seasoning, salt, and pepper.
Yeah, my
you got
parents
both
still
of
do
them.
that.
I know she's not listening today, so I'm good.
I wish you were here for us. No, you got to get the,
It says 57 varieties.
okay. But the one I was thinking of was the glass bottle.
Oh.
I wish you were here for the Wagyu we got from
Oh, I
Kramer's.
was too. I wish I was too. But I have some I need to call because last week while I was gone, a very good friend of mine who actually is somehow partnered in with the guy on some Wagyu has some steaks for me.
Oh, excellent. Do you want to bring them here? We'll cook them and eat them together on the podcast.
I'm going to do the same to you as you guys did to me. I'm going to tell you all about it and record it. Yeah.
Somebody here has a Wagyu picante steak. This is a new thing that everybody's doing. So he's going to give it to us. We're going to cook it here, film it, and then we'll let everybody in his department and other people try it.
So is a sweet steak desirable in your opinion?
No.
Because I'm only thinking like of Chinese food where it's like you have a sweet kind of sauce with
Right.
the protein. Like I can't think of anything else.
But I could be totally wrong. It could be absolutely
Yeah, it might
delicious.
just be
So that's
awesome.
why I'm going to try it.
So, yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and get that quarter of Wagyu. I think I can get it for like $5 a pound.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't think you can. Well, Matt, it depends on how much they like you.
If you can get it for that, I'll buy 2 whole beef and I'll go buy some new deep freezers to store it all.
Oh, then we'll start selling it.
No, I'm just going to save that for myself.
All right, so
No,
phytonutrients.
you sell half of what you buy to pay for your habit. That's the way those work.
If you get them for $5, you could sell way less than half of what you buy. Wagyu is
Yeah,
crazy
I'm sure.
expensive right now. So this is a study. It's phytonutrients in meat and nutritional differences between grass-fed and grain-fed. We're really at the end of this podcast, though, so I'm just going to hit on a couple of things. What they're talking about in here is basically they found that grass-fed beef in general has a 3-to-1 ratio over grain-fed on omega 6 and 3 fatty acids plus phytonutrients. Now, we learned in middle school, maybe high school, why a cougar can eat nothing but prey and survive. Meanwhile, they always told us we had to, have a balanced diet. And their answer was, well, its food eats plants and vegetables, so they get nutrients from that. I don't know why it's taken us. I mean, this is apparently a new discovery, and it's why people trying the carnivore diet aren't just dying of malnutrition. But there was that. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio. However, within grass-fed, there's an 11-fold variation in how much nutrients are actually in that. And the main researcher's response was, I can't stick my hand in that fire for it, but my gut feeling tells me that those animals were grain-fed and weren't truly grass-fed. So that's another thing with the whole grass-fed. A lot of it is actually just grass-finished. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, it's the last week. Go eat grass. So it's not truly grass-fed beef. And it has me wondering, because Austin and I have both agreed that I don't prefer grass-fed beef.
Well, all beef is grass-fed.
Fair, but not grain-finished.
Right.
Right. But I prefer the grain-finished from a flavor standpoint.
Yep.
But it does have me wondering, like, I obviously I really like venison. Every time I've got to try elk, I really liked elk.
Elk's very good.
It has me wondering, though, maybe the grass-fed beef I've had was more grass-finished and not like grass-fed all the way through.
I bet if it was grass, it was grass all the way, or at least pretty much all of it. Yeah. But there is a difference between that and grain finished.
This sounds like another side-by-side test we need to have.
It does sound like another side-by-side
all beef
test.
is started out on grass, and it just depends on if they're finished with grain.
When did this become like a thing, like the grass and grain-fed thing? Like
15
years?
Oh, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, has it always been a thing to like people that are, in agriculture though? Like they know that grass or grain is better over the other? Okay.
Oh, for sure.
But as a talking point for us normies.
And people like wanting grass finished.
It's a fad thing, right?
Yes. I wouldn't know if it's a recent thing.
Sure.
Okay. Post-pandemic meat processing plants, survival of the fittest. So it's going through and it found a bunch of things that processing plants could do to help them remain open. The average meat processing plant in the U.S. lasts 9.7 years. Some are higher than others, obviously, since it's an average. But they found that plants open near high population centers was a major reason for their success. Smaller plants that diversified into retail and wholesale meat markets were more likely to survive. Large plant survival was mostly associated with workforce quality and quantity, availability of labor, and higher concentrations of local plants in non-metro areas. Technical assistance might be needed to help smaller plants diversify into operating retail or wholesale meat markets, but the solution is not one size fits all. So that's similar to what we were talking with the Berkshire agriculture project. Workforce solutions such as safety investments. Safety is not important for employees. And then this might be a little hot topic, but female operated rural plants have a higher failure rate, suggesting they might need additional technical assistance. Now, the reason that sticks out to me was when we went up to Iowa State University. Was that last year? It was either last year or 2 years ago. I went with Steven and Sindelar. We were in the processing room and we were just kind of looking. I'm like, all your students are women. I didn't say anything, but I think he could kind of tell I was kind of shocked by it. And he came up to us. He's like, these are the next plant managers. He's like, 80% or more of my students are female. He's like, this is who's getting into this industry. So just interesting. All right. And then the last story to keep the streak going. Shark meat is a global phenomenon, but not everyone knows they're eating it. Basically, you don't even need to click on.
Wait, what's happening? We've worked in sharks again somehow.
Yes. Yes. We will always work in sharks at the end when we can. Basically, there's a ton of cuts out there being sold as swordfish, as skate, and as other things, but it's actually shark that you're eating because they catch so much shark as a byproduct. Better than throwing it away or just sell it as shark, be honest about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
People would probably pay a premium.
I thought it'd be more expensive. I thought the story was going to be that they market swordfish or shark as swordfish, whatever, the shark being more expensive. So
swordfish at least used to be, I don't know if it still is, a very highly sought after. Yeah. Taylor, who is our shipping manager, used to work at Dillon's at the meat center. That's wrong. Meat desk.
Okay.
Counter. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. But he said he had guys coming in bought shark every week. So, I mean, there are definitely people out there who want it.
Interesting.
Cool.
Surprised you don't eat more of it just to feel like you're on top of the food chain.
I just like to leave them alone, and I will be left alone by them.
We've had shark this year, didn't we?
Yep.
Right? Yeah,
Yep. That was this year we ate shark. It was delicious.
Oh, I
Deep
was
fried it.
And put it in ranch.
Yeah, we did.
No ranch.
Well,
No, that'd be excessive.
everything's good with ranch, right? Is that how we feel?
Don't we still have like some sort of weird exotic type fish we're
We
supposed to
do.
be eating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reminded
We're
of
gonna
that
get to that
on
Yep.
Friday. Yeah.
Oh, because you saw them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've got it in the freezer. We will be getting to that. So, all right. Anything else?
Yeah, a couple of things I thought about on AMP. Jumping back. One of the things is I know we have some commercial processors that listen to the podcast sometimes, and so if they're not a member of AMP, they should be, and they can call in and we'll give them the sign up sheet, or they can get it from AAMP.com. If they do that, whether it's from us or they get it straight from AMP, there's a spot on there that says sponsor. Make sure you put Walton's on there because we don't get any monetary for it, but it's kind of a bragging right still for the suppliers on who gets more members. And we were one short of somebody else. Somebody else beat us by one new member.
Did they start counting us as one unit? Because they used to count every salesman individually.
They're
and that
counting by
silly.
companies now.
Okay.
We had 14 and somebody had 15. And we are one of what they call legacy sponsors. So the top sponsorship for the AMP convention, and we have been for 15 years or something like that. So we are very involved in it currently. Dylan, my son Austin's brother, is on the board of directors for AMP. So we're very active in the organization and try to always get new members. So if you do fill that form out, make sure you put Walton's on it so we get credit.
All right. So the only other thing. Okay.
I don't know. Did you talk about that with everybody? No.
I thought you were going to.
No.
Okay.
I was busy.
We have nothing for you, and maybe in a couple of weeks we'll have something else for commercial
We have
processors.
something to try, but we got to get everybody on board.
So we'll be back with you on that one. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to waltons.com. To get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at meatgistics.com. Waltons, everything but the meat.